Why does nobody talk about how lonely it is having self-respect? Like, the second you start only accepting what you deserve, it's quiet here. Like, it's quiet here, and the streets, they're cold. Like, maybe he wasn't that bad.
Hey fam! Welcome back to the Black Tea Podcast. I want to talk about something that's been on my mind a lot lately: self-respect. We hear the term thrown around, but what does it really mean? And why is it so crucial for our overall well-being? Now, I'm not gonna lie, this journey of understanding and building self-respect hasn't been easy for me, and it's probably not easy for a lot of you. What I've come to realize is that it's not this big, flashy thing you achieve overnight. It's a daily practice, a series of small decisions that compound over time. The sources we've been exploring highlight this idea that respecting yourself is deeply intertwined with how you treat yourself in the present moment, with an eye towards the future.
A big lesson I had to learn in my 20s, and I'm still learning to this very day, is the importance of having respect for your future self. And what I mean by that is making decisions, doing things that show your future self, when they are present in the present, that you in the past care about them. And I know that sounds a bit convoluted, and the easiest way for me to explain it is, say for example, you're in your kitchen and you take a slice of toast out of the bag. You would, I would hope, close that bag back up. Why? Because the bread would get stale. And when your future self goes to have some of that bread, you want it to be fresh. You want it to still be soft. And so to me, that reflects a level of respect that you have for that future version of yourself. I think sometimes all of us get caught up in momentary pleasures, and we forget that our future selves are still us, and we will have to deal with the consequences of these momentary pleasures, even small ones, right? It doesn't have to be big momentary pleasure decisions that affect your entire life, but small ones like that can really change the way you see yourself and help you work on self-worth issues. And of course, this is just from my own experience, but the moment I started doing things like that, small things like that, I started getting more comfortable and confident in knowing that I have my back, that I'm there to look out for myself. Another thing is, making your bed in the morning. You don't need to. Obviously, it's not a moral thing to not make your bed or make your bed, but your future self who's coming home at night to sleep in bed is going to find a nicely made bed. And how great is that for that version of yourself? How lovely, how loving is that act that you do in the present moment for your future self? Now imagine never looking out for your future self, never doing things that show your future self that you care, that the past version of you cares about them. How can you trust yourself, right? How will you trust yourself to make other decisions moving forward? It really just does start from momentary decisions like that, I think, small ones. And the moment I started doing them and working on them for myself, the moment I started becoming a bit more compassionate, caring, loving towards myself, which then trickled down into every other aspect in my life. So if you're having struggles with self-worth and self-trust, I would implore you to start making momentary decisions like that show your future self that you respect and love them.
Low self-respect versus high self-respect, with some tips to increase your self-respect. And we need high self-respect for healthy relationships. Here's a person with low self-respect, and this comes from past trauma or a dysfunctional, painful upbringing, and they're running on the belief systems, I am unlovable, I am not enough. And because they have these belief systems, they engage in dysfunctional or toxic relationships. Within these relationships, they feel needy, anxious, triggered, and they're chasing the wrong people to prove their worth. They don't have an inner worth. Within those relationships, there's mistreatment, and they're reacting to the mistreatment in conflict. They're trying to control and fix others, trying to change them, and they're not trusting their gut with the people around them. There's a lack of self-care, a lack of self-focus, and they have unhealthy addictions, which is fueling their inner guilt and inner shame. And this just means they need to heal from past trauma, and a mindset and habit change is required. Okay, so here's somebody that has a higher self-respect. They know that they are lovable, they are enough, they are worthy. They only engage in healthy and supportive relationships. So maybe their inner circles are small, and that's fine. They feel calm, confident, empowered. Of course, they feel stress, but they know how to transmute their stress. They are not proving their worth to anyone. They're not proving their worth to anyone. They know that they are worthy. They have an inner validation. If there's any conflict or mistreatment in their life, there is a non-reaction from this calm centered space, and there's boundaries. They know how to respectfully communicate their needs. They accept others from day one and they trust their gut around others. When we trust our gut, it's one of the most amazing compasses and guides for our life. There's lots of self-care, lots of self-focus, and they're healing any detrimental addictions and coping mechanisms in their life. They are on the healing and self-development path.
Why does nobody talk about how lonely it is having self-respect?
Therapist here, let's talk about it. This applies to self-respect, but I also think it applies to self-awareness as well. The more you understand your needs, your wants, your likes, your dislikes, the more that you surround yourself with people who meet those needs, or you're able to meet those needs yourself. The less likely you are to surround yourself with people who don't meet those needs or disrespect who you are as a person. But the catch is that the more that you do that work, the more that you realize how many people you're truly incompatible with, and that could be intimate or platonic. And I think that's what makes it lonely, because prior to self-awareness and or self-respect, you could surround yourself with absolutely anyone.
Think about it. How often do we make choices that feel good in the short term, but sabotage our future selves? It could be anything from not completing a task or procrastinating to ignoring our own needs and boundaries. Self-respect, in my opinion, is about bridging that gap between our present actions and our future well-being. It's like that example of making your bed or closing the bread bag that's given in the sources. It may seem small, but it's a demonstration of caring for a future version of ourselves. The journey to self-respect can be a lonely one. This idea really resonated with me because it is a hard pill to swallow when we realize that the more we grow, the more we become aware of the people and situations that do not serve us anymore. When you start setting those non-negotiable standards and boundaries, you might find that the people you previously surrounded yourself with no longer align with your values. This doesn't mean you're better than anyone. It just means you're recognizing your worth and refusing to settle for less. It takes discipline to walk away from situations that drain your energy, especially when those situations are familiar and comfortable. But it's important to remember that tolerating disrespect from others is essentially a reflection of the lack of respect we have for ourselves.
Let me tell you how you really build your self-confidence and your self-respect. It's not just about looking good, because I think as women in our modern day society, we think that our confidence is all about how we look. But confidence is so much deeper than what you see on the outside. Confidence is internal. You have to do the internal work by keeping your own promises to yourself. You build your self-confidence by honoring yourself. That means if you have certain standards, you build that confidence by upholding those standards. You build your self-respect by saying, you know what, this is what I expect. I'm not going to accept this. And when you see yourself in a situation, when you come into a situation that tests those boundaries, you say, you know what, I'm going to hold myself accountable because I said, like, this is not enough for me. This is what I expect. This is what I want. And you keep doing that over and over and over again. As time passes, it will come so much more naturally to you to say, this is who I am and this is what I'm not going to stand for. These are my boundaries. The internal work that you have done will reflect throughout your life. So you're going to exude confidence from the inside out. So yes, your makeup can be laid, the outfit can be on point, hair looks good, but you will exude that self-respect and self-confidence from the inside out. And the best part about it is no one can take that away from you.
I'm going to teach you how to respect yourself. If you feel like you lack self-respect, if you feel like you don't really respect yourself enough, if you feel like people disrespect you so much because you feel like there's something you're not doing right, this video is for you. After watching this video, you would understand what self-respect means and you would now try to get people to respect you. The first step you have to take is understanding what respect means. And by understanding what respect means, you have to understand what disrespect means. Now, for you, what does it look like when someone disrespects you? Make a list of all the disrespectful things people can ever do to you. When you're done with that list, start obeying that list by yourself first. You have to respect yourself first by not doing the things that are disrespectful to you before you can even get people to respect you. I hope that makes sense. Now, for example, disrespect might look like someone lying to you. That's one of the things that can be in your lists. For that, you have to be an honest person because you cannot expect what you are not. So to be able to respect yourself, you have to first stop disrespecting yourself by all the things you have in your list. So make a list of what it looks like, what disrespect looks like, what are the things people will do to you that is disrespectful, and start obeying that list by yourself. Start implementing those things personally to your life. That's the first step. The second and most important step is to leave anyone that does anything on that list. No exemptions. Anyone that sort of does something that is on your list, walk away. Because the thing with self-respect is that you have to truly be very disciplined. Self-respect, it doesn't just come easily. You have to be very, very disciplined in walking away from things that are very disrespectful to you. So when you've made that list and you observe that someone is doing everything in that your list of disrespect, walk away. The minute you are there and absorbing all the disrespect, you are not respecting yourself. So you actually respect yourself by having boundaries, not allowing yourself to be bullied, not allowing yourself to tolerate things that are not helpful to you. You respect yourself by working away from things that do not serve you, things that cause you to have mental health issues. The minute you are in toxic situations, you're not having self-respect. And when people see that you are in toxic situations, they can't respect you. People only respect you when they see how you treat yourself. And how you treat yourself is solely dependent on the type of things you tolerate from people. For example, when people see that you're tolerating a toxic situation in your relationship, when people see that you're forgiving an ex that cheated on you or a partner that cheated on you, how are they going to respect such a person? Because such a person doesn't even respect themselves. But when you make decisions to walk away from situations that are disrespectful to you, you are teaching your environment, you're teaching people around you that, wow, he or she truly respects themselves, so I better, respect them as well. But when you are in situations that are not helpful to you, when you allow yourself to roll in the mud that people create, people are watching and people learn to treat you based on how you treat yourself. How you treat yourself is very important. So if you treat yourself like trash, if you treat yourself like someone that is not worthy, how do you expect people to come and treat you like you're worthy? Now, this is the rampant situation that goes on. People feel disrespected in their romantic relationships. Their partners do not, respect them. The question is, how do you treat yourself in that relationship? What are some of the things you tolerate? What are some of the things you excuse of your partner? Now, when your partner sees that, oh, he or she is taking all the trash that I'm dishing out, and he or she, on the other hand, is expecting me to respect them, it doesn't work that way. Your partner wouldn't respect you because he or she has seen what you have allowed to go on in your life. They've seen that you've allowed yourself to be treated like trash. So why should they respect you? Because you've said so? People will not respect you because you just said respect me. No, you have to show them why they should respect you. And this depends on how you treat yourself and how you respect yourself by not doing disrespectful things to yourself. It's really that simple. So once you can watch this video and understand it and apply these things in your life, you would naturally start seeing that people are respecting you and you're respecting yourself and you're just having a happier life generally.
It is not always easy to understand that people treat you based on the standard you set for how they treat you. If you accept being treated like trash, that is how you will be perceived by others. And that is something that can be changed by making the conscious decision to walk away from disrespect and setting boundaries. Now, here's the real tea. How do we actively build this self-respect? The sources offer some really insightful points, and I have my own opinions on this topic. It is important to make a list of what disrespect looks like to you. And then, most importantly, don't do those things to yourself. Treat yourself with the same level of respect that you would expect from others. Honor your word to yourself. This point from the sources really hit home. I think that the way to start building trust in yourself, which is a vital component of self-respect, is by doing what you say you're going to do. It could be as simple as completing a task or sticking to a new routine. It's about demonstrating to yourself that you're reliable. Prioritize self-care and self-focus. You are your most important investment, so start treating yourself as such. It means setting aside time for activities that bring you joy, and for introspection to gain a deeper understanding of your triggers and needs. In my opinion, self-discovery is key in loving yourself fully. Get clear on your values and boundaries. You are the gatekeeper of your life, so it is important to know what you stand for and what you won't tolerate. When you have clear boundaries, you naturally attract people and situations that align with your values. Remember that other people's actions say more about them than they do about you. This idea from the sources is so powerful. We often get caught up in thinking that other people's actions are about us, but in reality, they are usually a projection of their own insecurities. Surround yourself with good people. Don't settle for people who don't support you and uplift you. In my opinion, when you are around people who have high self-respect, you will learn how to do the same for yourself. Work on internal self-love, not just external validation. Yes, looking good on the outside is great, but confidence comes from within. And that is only achievable through self-acceptance, self-sufficiency, and self-discovery. It may also be important to connect with God if you are a religious person. Building self-respect is not a one-time achievement. It's a constant journey of self-discovery and personal growth. The sources highlight the power of small, consistent actions. It means understanding that you are worthy of love, respect, and happiness. Not because of what you do, but simply because of who you are. And sometimes, in the process of creating that version of yourself, we may realize that we are incompatible with some people, and that is okay. So, fam, I hope this has given you something to think about. What does self-respect look like for you? What are some ways you practice it in your daily life? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's create a community where we can support each other on this journey of self-love and self-respect.